consecutive pole positions. What a huge achievement in a year of Red Bull dominance and with Charles Leclerc as a teammate. Yes, I'm talking about Carlos Sainz, who is here to take over. Only 700ths of a second divided himself and Charles Leclerc on P3 in a fight for pole position, and let's break down this Ferrari duel. So, shots are synchronized and let's move on. Move towards the first corner. Braking points for this corner will be quite similar, but still Carlos will brake a little bit later. They brake, they enter the corner. Charles is being more precise with hitting the apex. As a result, Carlos goes a little bit wider on AstroTurf, which is already a zone of risk, as we remember from Red Bull case, but I guess Ferrari has a better correction, a better setup, so no consequences for Carlos Sainz, and right now we see them picking different lines. That's actually one of the main reasons why I like Marina Bay circuit, because the situation when different lines have a similar result is way more frequent down here due to the overall nature of the track, because all the turns are stacked together, forming a long sequences. Charles picks more straight entrance. Why Carlos, as we see on this shot, is situated way over here. His car is a little bit turned to the right, so he tries to make a wider entrance. Pros of this line is actually having a car better place for the exit of the corner. Cons of this line is just having to travel more in terms of distance. So we see Carlos will have a bit more straightened exit because his car is already rotated a bit more. And they go on the exit of the corner, and actually results here are pretty similar. Now, the second braking phase, Carlos is even lifting coasting a little bit, starting the movement with going off the throttle, while Charles Leclerc starts his movement with applying a little bit of brake pressure. So different techniques in the beginning of the braking, and here, in the middle of the corner, I could not believe my eyes. Actually, Carlos Sainz is beating Charles Leclerc in his own game, using this two-pedal technique with higher passion. So let's see if he will face any results, just a tiny correction, but the correction is pretty small and should not have some major impact on the exit speed. And here we face the end of the first sector, and Carlos is actually beating Charles. As for the braking, for this particular corner Charles will brake way later than Carlos Sainz. I will call sector 2 the most technical sector maybe in the whole F1 calendar. And for now, Charles managed to gain back all the time lost in first sector and even move a bit in front. So Carlos was a bit over conservative with his braking, but in spite of that, it was Carlos who faced oversteer on the exit. Unexpected outcome, but still we move forward. Lots of corners still ahead, and once again Charles will brake later on, but for now difference is quite small. Carlos was actually lucky then that he faced oversteer before such a tiny straight. So yeah, they brake once more. Exit of the corner, nothing special really. And once again Carlos will be more stable with his braking, but Singapore actually allows him to do so, because when corners are so close to each other, it's actually average speed which matters more. So if car is a bit more stable, it may become an advantage even. And we see Carlos being faster on the exit of this corner, so at this corner everything worked out pretty good for him. With a longer straight after it, he may take benefit from it, but we see Charles is still a bit ahead, and for the whole sector 2 Charles is braking later than Carlos. So he attacks it, he tries everything that is possible, and here we will see the second case of different lines. Because Charles was braking later on, his exit of this corner was pretty wider than Carlos's exit. We can see a huge difference in lines. And it will have its impact on the whole chicane, because as for now, Carlos traveled less distance and his car is placed a bit better than Charles's car, because Charles's car is directing a bit more out of the corner, so he'll have to rotate his car more in the next and in the final corner of chicane, and arguably this corner is the most impactful corner because it has a straight after it once again. And we see Charles has to hold his brake, of course just a little bit, but still throughout the whole corner to add more weight to the front wings, to give them a bit more grip so they can grab the surface and actually help him to rotate the car. But he will suffer in exit speed from this corner. And as for now, Carlos is actually ahead a bit, so it is a constant back and forth from two Ferrari drivers. Now, quite a huge braking zone, also braking zone which is not a straight one, which is always interesting, and check the difference in steering wheel work throughout this braking zone. If you saw my Charles Leclerc driving style video, you will not be surprised, because Charles was quite simple with his steering input. Firstly, a small input to the right, then a small input to the left. The whole work is basically done with the pedals. While Carlos Sainz being more active with his steering, he had an initial phase of turning right, then he had a small phase of a straightened wheel, in which he should apply the most braking pressure, and then it smoothly turned into actually entering the corner. It also may be explained with different brake balance from two drivers, but anyway, we move on to the end of sector 2. And we see Carlos didn't even score personal best, so he could be faster throughout this sector. And as for now, Charles is actually a bit ahead because he gained more on the second sector than he lost in the first sector. But we move on, huge braking zone once again. And we see them both making small corrections on exit, but as for Singapore, such a small corrections are actually okay. It's pretty hard to avoid them, I must say. And here we see the new part of the track. The new part of the track being just this straight line, because previously sector 3 used to be way longer, and the speed throughout the sector actually used to be way smaller, because for now we just have a straight instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 low speed corners. We can see them with the white line. White line is Carlos's lap from previous year, and the red line is actually Carlos's lap from the current year. I actually never mind these changes. They might lead to a better racing in dry conditions, because as you know, in dry conditions Singapore is like an Asian Monaco. But also I am a bit disappointed, because previously some good fights between cars used to start in turn 14. Cars could go side by side throughout the whole sector 3. So tell me what you think about those changes in the comments, but we move on. And we move on to the penultimate braking zone and the last heavy braking zone, and we will see for this one Carlos Sainz braking later. Charles being faster on the entrance of the corner, bringing in way more speed, and once again for the third time we will see a difference in car lines. Charles' line will be more straightened, while Carlos's line will be a bit more safe and exit oriented, I should say. Carlos's line is less prone to oversteer on the exit, but he still goes off the throttle a bit more than Charles Leclerc in the middle of the corner, which will pay its dividends on the exit, because we see a huge oversteer from Charles Leclerc. He was drifting pretty much throughout the whole exit of the corner, losing a lot in terms of time. And this is the main mistake which costed Charles his pole position. This corner will not matter so much, but Charles will again brake a little bit later, which will result in him losing it a bit in the exit. Anywho's, we move to the finish line and we see Carlos scoring best sector 3 and scoring pole position for the second weekend in a row. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment. No more talking, see you soon.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey,